I want to show you just really quickly some of the things that you can do with relationships. So this particular database doesn't have any relationships, and that's totally fine. We've got three different tables. We have stats, we have players, and we have games. Okay, so in the players table, we have the names of the players, their height, number, all these kinds of things in here. Some of the stats from their game numbers. Here's a game number here. So here are the games, and the game numbers are listed here. So playing against, Baylor, Lady Bears or whatever is game 18. So we've got those in there. So we have a lot of data. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close all these down because I want to create a relationship. So I'm going to right click on them, and you can either hit close and do one at a time or just close all. I didn't make any changes, so it's not going to prompt me to save it. And then there are lots of different ways of doing this, but I'll just show you the way that I like to do the relationships. I'm going to go up here to Database Tools, and I'm going to click on Relationships right here. Now, I like to use the table view to drag my tables in. I mean, you can do it other ways, but I like to click this button up here that says Show Table, and it gives me tables or, like, for example, queries here if I wanted to pull something from a query to use. But for now, we'll just use tables, and I want to add all three of these. So you can do them one at a time, or you can, hold down Shift and select the first one and pick that one too, or whatever. Control, same thing. So hold on this, hold down Control, uh, you know, drag these in. Oh, that was Shift that time. Sorry, Control the time before. So anyway, I'm going to select all of them and click Add. And then I can close this down. I don't need this anymore. So that was pretty much it. And so here we have our three tables. And these are all of the things that are in the tables. But you need to make these a little bigger. So you want these to be, easy to see what's going on. So you could scroll and all that, but that's lame. So just go down to, one of the corners and just kind of drag it, make it a little bit bigger. Makes it easier to see. I'm going to space this out a little bit too. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. I mean, I'm not going to go out here, but let's make it a little bit nicer. Move this over a little more. And then for the games one, I'm going to go ahead and pull this down too. So anyway, so now I can see everything in here. It's not really organized that well yet, but that's okay. We'll get to that. All right, so you'll notice in here, it also shows you the primary key. So each one of the tables has a primary key. And you'll go into that more too as you have, are going through the chapter. Hopefully, you guys are getting that stuff down, or will get that stuff down. So we've got the primary key. So what we're going to do is we're looking at each one of these tables and trying to figure out how they can work together. All right. So you'll notice in the stats table, I'll start over here. The stats table has player number. So then when they built this up, they're like, hey, we can use that to connect. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is the way I like to do them. I'm going to click on player number here and hold down my mouse button. And notice how it gives you that, like, hey, you can't do that symbol. So we've got that piece in there. I'm going to keep rolling, and notice now all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, yeah, you can. So I'm going to go ahead and come up here and click on player number here, and it'll bring up a little edit relationship submenu. So we've got, you can see in here, the tables that we're using. We have players and stats, and these are the things we're trying to tie together. Now, if I just click create right here, right now, that creates a one-to-one relationship. That is not what we want. Okay, so I'm going to drag this over so we can see it a little bit cleaner. All right, so you can delete it, and there's different ways of doing that. You can just click on it. I could hit delete, whatever. You could, I don't know, do whatever. There's all sorts of little things you can do. The way that I like to do these as far as editing, before we get into too many other details, is go ahead and double click on this and bring this little sub menu back up again. And there's this checkbox over here that says enforce referential integrity. You're going to use this for virtually every relationship that you create when you're using relational databases, at least in Access. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And then just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and click the cascade just so I can show you what that option does. So it's kind of cool. I don't know. The book doesn't really talk about it too much or show you too much about how it works out, but I think it's kind of fun. So anyway, I'll leave that on there. And then now when I click OK, boom, you notice now it has a 1 on this side to many with the infinity symbol relationship. So what we're saying is the players for this particular team that we have one player number that we can use. So let's say we have player number, I don't know, 10. So we have player number 10, and player number 10, there's only one player number 10, so that's where the 1 comes in. But that player number 10 could have a lot of different stats. So perhaps that player is the best three-point shooter, has the best free throw percentage, whatever it might be. There can be many stats that one player number 10 can have. So this is the way it works. All right. So and you'll notice we've got all the player information here, but the only thing we need in this table is one thing that will refer it back. And now all of a sudden, if I'm looking at this stat, I know that, hey, wait a second, I can go all the way back to this player number and get the name and everything else. So if you're calling this out later in a query or a report, we can just point to it and say, hey, I need to know the name of this player based on this stat, and boom, it'll pull it up for us. So, and you have to tell it what to do, but you'll see that in there. Okay, so that's one. Now, the next one that I want to do is I want to go ahead and put, oh, incidentally, if you move these around, because I'm going to have to move these around, and if you move these around, it will move them around for you. So don't leave it looking like this, like that. That's just lame. So don't do that. You want to be able to, again, make this really legible, easy to understand what you're doing. I don't actually like the players on this side. I'm going to put the players way over here, and I'm going to put the games on this side, and I'm going to leave stats in the middle. So I'm going to do this, leave a little bit of space there, a little bit of space here. And then I'm going to go ahead and use game number and use game number with this game number to drag it in. Oh, incidentally, let me show you this real quick too. So notice how I use the primary key side and I use drag and I went over to this, right? So if I delete this, I mean, I could do it with the other one. We'll do it in a second anyway. But if I start from this side and I start with player number here and I do the same thing, hold down the mouse, drag over and click on this. I'm going to go ahead and click this, turn these on so you can see that stuff. Click create. Notice how it knows that, wait a second, no, it has to be this way. So one to many. So it helps you along the way, helps you do that. So it's kind of nice. All right. And then I'm going to also go ahead and set up game number here with game number here. Do the same thing. Check these, make sure they're all checked, and click create. If you get an error, when you're doing this, you'll notice back in, let's see, let me go back to this real quick. There's a video down here called already in use error. And if you get an error that says, hey, you can't use the referential integrity, it's like, hey, something's already in use. That means that you have a table open here. So anyway, there's a little 3-minute video that talks about that. So you may have something open that you're trying to set a relationship for, and it won't let you do that. So anyway, check that out because that error will pop up and you go, oh man, I forgot to close stuff. So anyway, so we have this piece in here. So now we have our little relationships. It's looking nice. Keep these looking nice in here. So don't be dragging this over here and hiding things or over here or whatever. Try to make them look nice. You have a little space in here. I think maybe 5 tables, maybe the most that we'll have that you'll mess around with this stuff. Oh, maybe 6. I don't know. But anyway, you have a lot of space to play with in here. All right, so when you're all done, it's looking all nice. I'm going to go ahead and hit close. And it's going to prompt you and say, hey, do you want to save the changes? Yes, I absolutely do because I just did a lot of work. So I'm going to say yes. And now I have my relationships in there. To double check it, you can click on database tools, click on relationships, and that should pop up. Okay. So, and incidentally, if you drag this over here and save it and then come back, it will look junky like that. So don't do it. All right. Anyway, so okay. So I'm going to say close. I move something. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes again. All right. So now, let's look at an example of why we like using this. There are a lot of reasons why, but this is one of the things that people really love. So if I open the players table and we have, let me show you the cascade piece in here. Notice these little plus symbols. Okay, so we have these little plus symbols in there. What these do is they will show you. Let's see. Let's try Monty. See what Monty has. Monty has nothing. So maybe Monty didn't play. Monty has nothing going on. So maybe Monty's hurt. Let's try Matthew. Oh, look at all the stuff Matthew has. Okay, so you can see in here with stat number that Matthew Douglas has the first 10 stats. So these 10 stats based on these games, and he's got all this stuff in here. Okay, so notice it's all tied in here. So this is Matthew Douglas, player number 5, and he's got all this stuff. So if we go over to the stats, and we look at stats, boom, here we go. Stat number 1 to 10, like we just looked at. And notice, look, all of these are player number 5. Okay, but let's say that when we were keying these in, we made a mistake. And Matthew is not player number 5. He is instead player number 15. I'm saying that because I want to make sure there's not another 15. Okay, good. We don't have a 15. All right, so we have, this is actually going to be player number Matt Douglas is actually player number 15 instead of 5. So every place, you can imagine, I mean, this is a pretty small database, right? We don't have too much in here. But let's say this was thousands of lines long. We had, you know, 60, 70, 80, 100 different tables. We had all sorts of queries, reports, all different things in here. We don't want to have to go through and correct this for every single time it lists his player number. We don't want to have to change that. Instead, and this is where relational databases are great, we'll just change it in one spot and Access will change everything for us. So here's how this works. If I come over here and I say, all right, I'm going to change this. Whoops, I had messed this up. He is actually player number 15. Great. You can hit tab or return and it will keep it in there. Now let's go take a look at stats and I'll show you something because we have to do one more thing. All right, so I'm going to click over here and notice how it still says player number 5. Okay, very important that even though it's recorded in here, we have not saved the player table yet. So you can right click on it and hit save. You can go up and hit save up here or whatever. But now as soon as I hit save, it records that new data and it knows that, hey, this is player number 15 now. So if I pop back over to stats, ooh, look at that. All these have been changed to 15. Okay, so any place where that's referred to in any of these tables, anything else you've got going on later on, you'll see there'll be a lot of other things. We'll use queries, forms, there's all sorts of different things. So reports, anyway, so you'll play with that. It will change things for you. So it's very, very useful. That's one of the biggest reasons why we love relational databases is because that feature is awesome just by itself, let alone everything else where you're not storing duplicate data and all that kind of stuff. So there are all sorts of other benefits the book will go into, but I just wanted to point that out to you, show you how to actively create that, and just so you can see it and give you a quick example. So if you have any questions, email me. Hopefully this helps.